What's up, man? Good to see you. Good. All right. Yeah, that story, I've never told that story. Actually, we were living in Tokyo, and Chris told me one day, he said he's selling advertising on the internet. And I'd heard of the internet, I think I saw it in Time magazine or something, but I didn't really know what it was. So he said, well, you should try the internet, you'll like it, And I said, what is it? And he said, well, it's hard to explain, so I'll take you down there. So he took me down in like 93 or 2 or something? Something like that. He took me down to this place, and there was a bunch of people looking at screens, which I didn't like to do. And he said, I said, what can you do here? And he said, well, what do you want to look at? I said, well, what can you look at? He says, well, you can look at companies. So I typed in IBM.com. And then I looked at it, and I said to Chris, I said, I could just order the brochure. I don't need to, if I wanted to, get the brochure, I don't need to, So I left. He said, well, I got you for 2 hours. I said, well, that's cool. I went and met a girlfriend or something. that was my, things unfold in life, and you never know how they're going to go, right? I had no clue. I didn't even know. When you said you're selling, advertising on the internet, it was just like selling water underwater. And just like, what? You're like, advertising? Nobody looks at the internet. Nobody has the internet, do they? Nobody wants the internet, And look at today, So I think I always remember that story when I hear somebody that doesn't admit they're wrong or can never admit that they couldn't see something, because I literally had no clue. So that was my beginning on the internet. And then after that, I started several businesses. I've marketed all kinds of stuff. And I love questions, you guys, because I've actually done it in many different types of companies. So everything from corporate to mostly my own businesses. But I can, any hard questions, you guys, I love them at any time. I don't mind. I'd rather even just answer questions than even do the presentation. So I'll just give you quickly what I got here is, I need my little thinger here. Okay. Right, so why would you want to market your thing globally, your business? Okay, who has their own business here? How many people have their own business? Oh, wow, okay. So it's probably 40%. Okay, who is corporate or PR or, okay. All right, so you're managing a budget for somebody else, right? And you're doing social media. Okay, why would you want to market? Is anybody marketing globally successfully now? Selling overseas, what are you selling? Just say it out loud.
It's just tax services. What we do is we do expat taxes.
Oh, okay.
They're just everywhere.
I know all your competitors. And I know a guy who runs a great Facebook campaign for that. He dominates. He's in Bangkok. Okay, good. Okay, so you're selling expat services, so to Americans basically.
Anywhere in the world.
Okay, right. Because they got the IRS after them, right? So.
We like it.
Perfect.
Taxes is a good word.
Okay, well, you sell overseas? What do you sell?
We sell English language programs.
Okay. English language, all right, that's right on. Okay, I know a lot about that market too. Okay, anybody else selling successfully overseas? Okay.
I'm a hotelier.
Okay, so you're getting Asian tourists, Chinese tourists? Yeah. Okay, I've worked with a lot of hotels. And I was featured in a book, China's Super Consumers, and Michael Zakor, who wrote that book, it does all the, 5-star hotels, and me and him, we brainstorm all the time, so we're probably gonna have a product coming out soon. Okay, we'll go, so hit me with the questions about these. And one last person, is there somebody over there? Yeah. Software, okay. All right, so you're selling mainly what country? Okay, all right. Okay, good. So we got a variety of things, services, actually physically wanting people to come to your place, and then selling to foreigners overseas, or I call them foreigners. I've been a foreigner my whole life, so it's foreigner is a normal word for me. So okay, so why would you want to market globally? Basically, find leads, find partners. When you start to market globally, let's say you have a cookie business, right? I met somebody yesterday who has a wool business here in Victoria, and they have some type of special wool, and they want to sell it overseas, right? When you start to market overseas, it is super cool. It is. I got to tell you, this is I'm not just here talking about this. This is it's so exciting. Trying to market your stuff overseas. It's I don't know. It's like your first dance in junior high or something. It's you're going through so many emotions and so many things. You're learning so much about your business. It's just so cool. They were selling what is it called, red wool or something to Chinese, right? And so what you have to do, the first thing you have to do is you have to decide, okay, when you're selling anything, is how do you look to other people? Okay? We're not used to that in North America. Because in North America, we tell people how to look at us, right? You know, we say, I'm plus size, right? Or I'm this, or I'm that. We tell people how they can call us, right? Overseas, they don't care. You're in their world overseas. So the only thing you can do is figure out how they look at you. And then you have to kind of like figure out what it is how do they see you, and what are the disadvantages and what are the advantages, right? So you have to, that's the first thing you have to do is you have to see yourself. I think of it as putting on the glasses, like the X-ray glasses, and all of a sudden you can see yourself from, let's say, a Chinese perspective, right, or a Japanese perspective, or a German perspective, how you look to them, because the way you look to them is very, very different than how you look here, okay? So we're going to go with a couple of examples here. But when you start to market, what are the advantages? One of the big advantages is if you have something that's pretty cool, okay, you have like a nice hotel, you have a nice service, and you teach English well. When you put it out there, you get super fans. You usually get super fans right off the bat. And these people will help you sometimes to build your business, introduce you to people. So you're not just looking for leads. Like here, it's very segmented, right? You need leads. You need like $100. You need them to click here, right? Overseas, you're putting it out there, and you're finding out what comes back here. It's like when they listen to extraterrestrials, they send the signal up, and then it bounces back sometimes, right? You're putting it out there, and it's bouncing back to you, right? So when it bounces back, it might not be a sale, but that's not a failure, because it could be somebody who's interested in your product for a reason that you couldn't even imagine, right? This is a completely different reason than what you would think. And then, so you have to like take these things seriously, right? I did one campaign, a Google AdWord campaign, and we got this email back, and it just said, hey, with the 10 Ys, right? And it was for selling a $10 million hotel. And so my friend said, look at this garbage we're getting from this. I said, wait a second. Let's respond to this. So we responded to the email professionally, and the guy ended up buying a hotel. He was 19 years old from China, and I got to be friends with him. And I asked him, why did you send that hey email? He said, well, you guys over there are, pretty cool. So I thought I'll just, hit you with this hey, And it was like, and he ended up buying it cash, right? And so, you would never take that seriously, right? Here, right? You're just like, oh, junk. Don't hit the junk, right? Don't hit the junk. Quickly, try to reach out and try to understand. Try to understand it. It's easier said than done is the only thing. It is, because even for me, like, I just have, sometimes you just don't get it. I'll tell you one of the stories, hilarious. I was selling real estate at an event at a hotel in Shanghai. And we had this guy. I was managing the whole event, so I brought my salespeople and everything. And it was in Australia, real estate. We had like a bunch of apartments we're selling. So this guy comes in, and he's like a homeless guy, right? He like smells, he like looks terrible. And I'm not kidding. This guy, like, this is not exaggerated. The guy is like a homeless guy, right? So I'm like, oh man, what are we gonna do? So I went to the hotel manager. I said, can we kick this guy out? And he said, well, technically you're in a public area. Where we were is just outside the door inside the hotel. It was inside, but it was considered public. He said, so we can't do anything unless he does something bad. So I was like, okay. So he's eating all the cookies, he's drinking all the coffee, and this is Friday. He does this till Sunday, comes in every day. Yeah, he just comes in every day, and he just sits there and just hogs all the cookies, hogs all the stuff. And I was like, I was so frustrated, because in Asia, they're more hardcore, right? They're more hardcore than here. I'm used to that, Like people, and I've been in many altercations, and things happen in Asia. It's much more rougher than here. You guys got it easy over here, trust me. It's tough over there. That's why when Chinese come over here, they're so tough, because they've been through a very tough situation, competing with 1.6 billion people, for people's attention and money. And that's a very, very big thing. It's very difficult, right? So either way, so at the end of the event, I was just like, I can't believe it. Everything was good except for that guy. He ended up buying the top floor, all the apartments in the top floor. Yeah. And we ended up selling 22 properties, and nobody said they were going to buy anything. Like, I was there the whole time talking to everybody. I'm just like, and I know China. I'm like sitting there, I speak Chinese. I'm like talking to everybody. And I was like, and nobody seemed serious, even to me. We sold 22 properties, 21 and then 22 properties. And the one guy, like I said, he bought the top 3, all the luxury apartments in the top floor. And he had the cash. And who knows? It's like, when you're selling overseas, you really have to throw out your ideas of how to, even suss a lead or whatever. And this is the hard part. You might not want to do it. You might say, no, this is not worth it, right? It's just too difficult. It's too complicated, right? But I love it because it's a surprise that happens. And also you get connections with these people that you never get if you're marketing in Canada because they're in a different mode, right? So like when I went to Japan, when I met Chris, my first real estate person, the Amanos, I don't think you ever met them. They were a super cool family, but I kind of was eating this ice cream, walking down the street, and I see all these big numbers and on the side of this fence, and I thought, well, this must be real estate. It's Japan, right? It's expensive. So I walked inside. Sure enough, it was real estate. They got me an apartment, and we became good friends. And I ended up introducing over 100 people over the years that rented apartments from them. And who would have guessed? I'm just sitting there. I'm all sloppy. I don't have a job. I'm eating ice cream, walking down the street. And I ended up introducing 100 people because I was out like a fish out of water. I would never do it here. But overseas, you're looking for friends. You're looking for connections. You're trying to make a life for yourself, right? And the people that buy, the people that come, that's the mode they're in. It's like your first day when you move to a new city, or if your parents take you to a new place, right? So just keep in mind that there's different protocols, there's cultural things, there's misunderstandings, and there's also a deeper need than just a product. There's a deeper need. Almost always, yeah. And if you might think I'm not telling you the truth because somebody's been here for 2 years or whatever, but it's not true. Trust me on this one. Just go a little deeper. Give a little more. Just kind of go a little deeper. You'll be surprised what opens up. I've had, just pretty much my whole career has been made by the ability to catch a little fish and then just keep pulling slowly. It's like, oh, and then just give another fish. Oh, another fish. Oh, big fish. And just keep going. And because the people, they're so much more. There's a reason why Amway is the number one company, foreign company in Japan. It's the most profitable company in Japan. Is Amway, because of the networking, because of the way the society is. And so it's the same in China, like new skin and all those things. By the way, I hate MLMs, but I just am amazed that they work so well in Asia because people sell their friends and they network and they're tight and they get introductions. And the one, actually now that I'm saying this, don't ever try to get anybody's connections, okay? Don't call me and say, hey, I got a great product, let me use your connections. Let me, nobody can give you a Chinese connection, okay? They can't give you a foreign connection. You have to build it yourself, okay? And if you build it, you will be responsible for it. So if let's say I take one of my friends, a wealthy Chinese guy, and I introduce him to you and you sell him a hotel, when he has any questions about anything, he's going to call me. Even though he knows I don't get any money. I just gave it to you because you're my friend. And then he's going to still, 10 years later, he'll call me and complain because the taxes are too high. Yeah, there's even a famous Chinese TV show right now about there was a party and the two guys got introduced and the one guy ended up not feeling ripped off and then he murdered the guy, right? And that's like really popular because it's so Chinese. Yeah, so you can't and you shouldn't ever introduce your connections to other people. Your connections are your connections. You build those connections. You make those connections, you build them. They're so important in your business. Even if they're not buying anything, they're going to bring later. You're doing something nobody else does. That's the other thing. You have no competition because nobody in the West understands this stuff. Trust me. It takes years to understand it. Like I'm telling you, like decades of experience. Since '89, I've been trying to do this. So it's like I'm telling you the real deal. So yeah, so build your own connections and start small. Okay, so I'll go here. Like basically I said helpers. Helpers are great. You get a helper from somebody like in say a German community or Dutch community, a Chinese community, they can be fantastic for you. What do you do with let's see, let me just I'm going to go here. I'll just give you 3 quick examples of companies. This one here on the left is Pabst Blue Ribbon, right? Terrible beer. No, who drinks Pabst Blue Ribbon? Yeah. Oh, somebody. Okay, one person. Okay. My grandmother used to drink it. Yeah. She made me a hat with Pabst Blue Ribbon. Yeah. But most people, it's not a popular beer these days, right? But in China, it's marketed like champagne. Yeah. And so you see on the left there, it looks like a champagne bottle. That's a Pabst Blue Ribbon since 1844. So the company is very smart, and they went over there probably with their usual marketing, right? Whatever they usually do. They throw it out there, they get no sales. they spend more money and they got no sales. Spend more money and the workers probably just did exactly what they told them to do and they got no business, right? Finally somebody looked at them and said, how old are you guys? And he says, 1844. 1844, Chinese love old companies, right? Especially liquor, yeah, especially wine, right? So they switched their branding totally, and they're selling expensive. Who knows? I never drank it, but whatever it is, it sells for some cash, and it's Pabst Blue Ribbon brand. Another one is David Hasselhoff. This is a German story, but when the wall fell down, he had a song about whatever, unity or whatever, and he was saying this song. And so that was a popular song. And so he's still popular in Germany, right? So even though he's dead here. So a lot of the things, what you start here, your company could die here, and what you're building could end up being your company and come back and buy this company. Happens all the time. 7-Eleven started out American. It's Japanese, right? And because they did a better job. They opened their Japanese offices. They were much better. There's much, it's much fresh products. 7-Elevens, you hang out in them. They're awesome, right? You can do everything. Concert tickets, meet girls, everything. So 7-Eleven's great, right? All the kids hang out at 7-Eleven. People drink in front of 7-Eleven, And so it came over and bought the company. So David Hasselhoff. Then Buick is another great example because Buick, I've never owned an American car in my life. I'm from America. I always had foreign cars because I hated American cars. I think they're such garbage. Like, why do anybody buy this trash? Now I like Teslas. Finally, there's an American car I like. But Buick went to China, and Zhou Enlai, which is the old leader of China a long time ago, back at the Mao time, he liked it. He liked Buick, and somehow he got in his mind that Buick was the best car, right? And so then after that, all the Chinese leaders had Buicks, right? And now I guarantee you, somebody like you reached out to Zhou Enlai. He sounds like if you know Chinese history, is a big name now, but he's just a regular dude, right? I know a lot of guys like that, just regular dudes, but they ended up being like big or whatever, And so you never know who you're meeting. That's the other thing. You never know who you're meeting in China, especially. You meet somebody totally normal. They're just humble, and they ended up being, crazy powerful. So that happens too. But Buick went to China. And everybody, Mao wanted a Buick. All the Communist Party officials wanted a Buick. The first joint venture auto company was Buick. Buick is now awesome, right? Have you seen a Buick lately? They're pretty cool. They're pretty cool, and they're designed in China. And they sell in China more than in America. I think it's, what is it? I think it's like 88% of Buicks are sold in China worldwide. So they're selling like so much more than here, right? And Buick is now like revitalized because the Chinese, they like more gaudy things, right? So they have like neon lights under the thing, like at this traffic, like going with the beat, And it's a young brand now. Buick is a young brand, and it's also like faster and drives better and better fuel economy. Everything is cooler, right? And that's just purely because of China. Somebody reached out, right? So when you reach out, you might end up being like better, bigger than your boss, or your company could end up being huge. This is the one place where magic can happen. When you're selling overseas and you don't know what you're doing, you just try. Just have a good sense of humor and just keep trying things, right? And you'll see these things all the time. It's crazy. I could go over a million. There's a million examples of this actually. Okay, so first thing you got to do when you're thinking of your brand, okay, whether it's a hotel or whatever, is localize. Okay, before social media, you need to think of how. Again, I said like the glasses, right? Does anybody have any idea of how Chinese see Canada, for example? How do you think they see Canada? Like, anybody have an idea?
Friendly, big, vast, open spaces, fresh air.
Fresh air? Yeah, sure. Fresh air. Yeah, for sure. Fresh air more than the other ones. Yeah, because the air is terrible in China. And they take pictures as soon as they get here of the sky, right? So that's a big one, fresh air, right? Do they think freedom? No, not really. Yeah, they don't really think that. Everybody thinks that Canada is like open and big, but the Chinese, their probably number one thing is immigration and education, and like having a successful family in the future. And Canada is a good place to start their family, So it's like they can build in Canada, right? Yeah, they might go somewhere else and invest, but this is a good place. They can like long-term kind of relocate their family here, and also get their money out of China, because in China, nothing is secure. Every time the official leadership changes, everything changes for you, right? And you could be a victim of any kind of government campaign, And that's one that leads me to one of my really sore points, is a lot of people think all like money from abroad is like dirty. Yeah? They think it's like dirty. And I tell you something, that is such a bunch of crap. You know, you guys if there's one thing you get out of this talk is don't have that in your mind, because one, if you think I'm a criminal, you think so, you know, someone's a criminal, how are you going to treat him, right? What kind of business can you do with a criminal, right? That's what you think, that's what you think, right? Is somebody's shady, somebody's dirty. It's not like that. It's very tough in China, and it's very tough overseas in general. Japan is very competitive, and you have to do things to survive, right? You know, and you might not be proud of it, but you have to do things to make it, right? And everybody has to do it, right? You know, so the Chinese that succeed, most of them made their money just by buying a house. The government took all their land in 1949. One of my friend of mine's family lost 120 warehouses, yeah, huge warehouses in Shanghai. And then the government just nationalized everything. And then they started selling it back to the people in 1978. So that's what I did in China, it was real estate. And so it was an interesting thing. It's like a lot of people had their land, everybody had their land stolen. And then a lot of them died or were murdered or whatever, and they're gone now. And now new people come in, and they squatted there, and they ended up getting the land. And now the land went from $2,000 in 1978 to like several $1 million now. So the money, they destroyed the country, and then people got the land, and then the land went way up in value. So most money in China, most personal wealth, about 70% is from land. So real estate. So that's why Chinese love real estate in Vancouver, right? It's not because they're trying to take over. This is what made them, get them out of poverty. This is what they think is, they need this. This is like absolutely, this is the only way, right? This is the most basic way, is real estate. So that's why they're thinking that way, right? So they did that, and then also some people made products, right? And they sold them at Walmart, right? And you could say, hey, it's dirty because they don't pay taxes. You know, I don't know. I don't have a good example for you guys, but just realize that like a kid selling cookies is technically breaking the law. He's technically a felon, right? He's a tax avoider, right? You know what I mean? If you really want to throw the book at the kid, you could put him in jail for the rest of his, he's like got a business, he's not paying tax. The Chinese, it's different. It's just different, right? So just keep that in mind. And of course, there's going to be bad people and good people. But if in your mind, if you're trying to do business with somebody, in your mind, you're thinking something like that, you're out of your mind. It's like trying to get a girlfriend and just thinking girls are terrible. It's like, how is it going to work? It's not going to work. You have to love the people you're trying to target. You have to be interested, right? It's the only way. You don't just, business is like, it's you and them, right? They feel it. They know, that's how you can succeed if you just understand this one thing, is that you're trying to build a connection, you're trying to understand them, and you actually care, and you're giving them benefit of the doubt, right? And you'll kick butt. You'll kick butt. So like your localization, right? Sometimes it's not even the product, it's just the brand, right? Tim Hortons, probably, I'm guessing not many Starbucks fans here. I don't know. Is there Starbucks fans? A little bit? Oh, really? Oh, wow. Oh, wow. This is interesting. Oh, okay. I thought everybody was going to say Tim Hortons.
Yeah, I've been in Asia a long time.
Yeah. Well, I've been since before Starbucks, right? I remember when Starbucks came to Tokyo, I was pretty excited. Over in, where was the first one? It was, the second one was in Ginza. Yeah, that was an exciting time for me. But, so localization can sometimes be a feeling, a country, a flag, a color, an actual product, a history, a story, a date, 1844. It could be anything that you're creating. So you have to think of what do you have, and the way you get this is social media, by talking to people, right? So let's go quickly here. Okay, you guys are all different types. Some people are big budget. You guys are Coca-Cola. Anybody managing like for a huge company like Coca-Cola? Like, any of the big ones? Okay. Medium-sized companies managing the marketing campaign? Okay. And then the owners. Okay. So it's good because this is actually what I wanted to talk about anyway, is there's three choices, right? The big budget guys, they can just go ahead and hire a professional team that's done this many times before, and they know the ins and outs, right? But you guys are not going to do that, and I've never done that myself. But the medium-sized companies, okay, Gregor Robertson, right? The mayor of Vancouver, right? I met him when I was here last time at the event, and a friend of mine does his social media, his Chinese social media, and it went crazy. His social media was really popular. But then his wife's, mother had some issue and all the kind of things. But she was doing his social media, and he got a ton of fans in China because of that. And I read it because I speak Chinese, and I was reading it. It's like sometimes it was like shoe sales and like super cheap pants, and like there was all kinds of. She was putting, and she's a woman. She was putting things that she's interested in, and the Chinese ate it up. So the mayor, who didn't even know it was on his media feed, was getting all these fans and didn't even know why. Right? He probably still doesn't know why. Yeah, because he did things that like normal Chinese want to know about. Right? It wasn't just like official Chinese, Canada, Vancouver. It probably. I tell you this. I can now say this for sure. It wouldn't have succeeded if he would have been in charge, because he would have known and he would have said, "Oh, that's not professional," or "Oh, we're not selling anything. That'll be too salesy," or whatever. And then she knew, right? So sometimes you can get someone like that. So I'll call her Echo. A lot of Chinese girls have a name Echo. So you can find your Echo who can manage your mid-sized budget. So she can write in Chinese, or he can write in Chinese, and he can do your budget. But it's very difficult to find your Echo. And before you find your Echo, you have to do the first one, which is small budget, which is you, right? You have to start your own social media campaign overseas. Don't let anybody do it for you, okay? It's too important. You have to understand what you're posting, why you're posting, the feedback. You have to kind of feel it. It's like a relationship. You can't just throw it out there. It's the worst thing to give it to somebody else, because you lose total control of your brand. You won't know why people like you. You won't know why they're not coming. You'll never learn anything, and you're just killing time. May as well work at McDonald's, right? You're not getting anywhere, right? Whereas if you start it yourself and you start posting yourself, and I'm going to show you easy ways to do that. Okay, super easy. Okay, so in the old days it was super easy, right? You just had one message. It was Coca-Cola, the real thing, and then got someone to translate Chinese. That was it. Boom, done. Okay, the real thing in Chinese. Okay, yeah. And next is that, but that doesn't work anymore. The reason why it doesn't work anymore is because now you're selling to sophisticated people, and sophisticated people want you to think about them, right? They want you to know who they are a little bit and to kind of give them what they need, right? So unsophisticated people, when they're new in a market, like a kid walks into the first time to buy a motorcycle, he just buys it. He brings his cash and he's just like nervous, and he comes up and just puts it on the table like I did my first motorcycle, and I was just like, thank you, I was so excited to get my first motorcycle. But then after for years, I'm like, hey, no, this thing's not, it's just a little problem with this. I need that, and you get sophisticated. So the market overseas is sophisticated. So you guys are going in at a time. I went in when it wasn't sophisticated. So when I got to China, it was very unsophisticated, and Japan too. Still with foreign companies, it was very, 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 what do you call it? Like you could do anything. Like Bruce Willis made millions of dollars selling all kinds of crazy things. Any star could just do anything. Japan was a total open book. My friends made millions of dollars just doing the craziest, dumbest things, back then, right? But now it's not. Now you need to be so smart. You're like a sniper now, right? So, okay. So the challenge is you want to stay in control of your message, and you want to be relevant, right? In this new market, and you want to localize, right? So let's see here. Basically, I'll say one thing first, and I hope this sticks in your mind, is you want to be yourself, but don't be weird. Okay, the market overseas, I don't know how to put this. It's difficult to say these things politically correct or whatever, but in fact, I can't be, because you have to know the truth. They don't like tattoos. They don't like, what I mean, like weird clothes. They don't, what I mean? Like they like a more middle of the road kind of like look, a kind of middle of the road attitude. They know you're different. They know your product's gonna be different. So you want to stand out, but as far as your image, it's not the same as here. Here, just dumb example, but like as a guy, like here I see all these guys with tattoos and muscle shirts and everything. And in Asia, that doesn't work at all. Nobody would talk to that. It's not interesting at all. They like it like a polo shirt, short hair, and then people talk to you. They feel like you're trustworthy, yeah. So you look differently overseas. So be careful about just giving the same image, right? I've changed because I've been overseas so long that I basically fit in with I know how they see me, and I give them what they want. Give the people what they want, right? But at the same time, okay, this is the hard part, is you have to be yourself, okay? The biggest mistake people make with social media, global, is that they act corporate, okay? They act like somebody they're not. Okay, so all of a sudden you have some guy, he's gay, he's flamboyant, he's a designer, and then when he makes his social media, all of a sudden he's this like straight guy, really normal, right? So you have to be yourself, and that's how you get the good deals. I have a friend who's making millions of dollars. He's absolutely, like this guy, he's really gay, and he makes a lot of money selling to the Chinese PLA, the People's Liberation Army, and because there's a lot of secret gay guys in the military, and but they don't, not on the outside, right? But he makes tons of money selling to the PLA, all kinds of products, right? Because he made the connection. He was himself, right? And then people came to him. So you want to be yourself, but you want to, at the same time, you want to also think about decor a little bit. Watch your competitors. Yeah.
The humor and smiling and all that, has that changed in the last 10 years over there? I know that it was kind of frowned upon to be smiley and humorous over there. It was considered weak.
Yeah, that's a difficult one. Oh man, that's a difficult one. Ooh, that one I can't. I mean, for one thing, Asia's huge, right? So I know. I'll tell you my story about that. I was working in Japan, and after about, I don't know, it was 5 or 6 years, I realized that business people didn't take me seriously, and I couldn't understand what it was. I just could not get it. I just, you know what I mean? Like I just couldn't. I thought of everything, and then finally I looked in the mirror. I realized you smile too much, and I looked at the Japanese guys' faces, and they're not smiling. And then I asked my friends, and they said, yeah, like people who smile too much are like clowns, So I learned, part of speaking a foreign language in Asia is learning to control your face a little bit, right? So you know when to do it, when to not. You become more sophisticated because you're not just not knowing what you're doing. You know what you're doing. And you're turning it on when you need to turn it on. And you're not turning on when you don't, right? In a certain situation. So as a general rule, in a business situation, okay, you aren't Chinese, okay? That's a big deal because you don't want to act the way exactly they act. That's the hard part. You have to find your own way, right? That's the hard part. It really is hard. Because if you say, oh, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go totally local. I'm going to study them. I'm going to spend 10 years, and learn the language, and then I'm going to go in there and do exactly that. They won't like you. Because just like Carrefour, the French supermarket failed in Japan, the reason why they failed is because they looked just like every other Japanese supermarket. And what the Japanese wanted, here's what they wanted. Because my brother-in-law is married to the founder of Costco. So they opened Costco, kicked total butt in Japan. And I helped him with that. And the thing is the difference is what they wanted. Here's what the Japanese wanted. This is a good example, actually. They wanted a supermarket that was French, okay? But what does that mean? Okay? All it meant to them was they want a guy with a mustache and a long mustache and a big hat standing near the thing, giving out wine and cheese and saying, whatever, saying French words, and that's what they wanted. And then they see that, they're like, oh, I'm in a French supermarket and some grapes hanging down or something, a little Italian in there, but after they go through that, they wanted a real supermarket. So that's what they wanted. And the Carrefour never got it right. They started out with all supermarket, just like a Japanese supermarket, best food, best price. Japanese came in and they're like, this is boring. Like this is like a Japanese supermarket. So in fact, they lost so bad. You can lose so bad overseas. They lost so bad that the Carrefour name is still in Japan. They left with their butt on fire. And you can still go to Carrefour, but it's owned by the Japanese. Because they had to abandon it. They lost so much money. We're just out of here. You guys do whatever you want. So that's how bad you can lose overseas. Over a dumb little thing. There was 2 things they did wrong. One was they didn't have the wine and cheese, right? 2, they picked their headquarters in an expensive area of Tokyo, which every consultant will tell you to do. Oh, you have to have respect in Japan. Go to the most expensive place. Open your office there. If you don't have that, no one's going to respect you. Guess what? That is true if you're De Beers, or you're some kind of a diamond company or wine company. But if you're a supermarket and they see you spending all this money on this, because Japanese, overseas, like they know stuff. Like they know that the headquarters is there. I think Asians are just generally more educated. They know more. If you just talk to them, they'll know. Like they'll know where companies come from. They'll know a lot about history. They'll know about you. They'll study about you afterwards. They'll check into it. So having that expensive main office killed them too, because the Japanese thought, well, how can they give good prices if they're just down there? They're paying on the Costco. On my recommendation, went to a cheap place who everybody told not to do and made fun of them because they were on this little line on the middle of nowhere, and it ended up being really smart because the Japanese were like, that's really smart. That's super cheap out there. and Costco probably has the best prices. I'm going to go to Costco, right? So things like that can make a huge difference, right? Even though for their budget, it probably wasn't a big deal. But their image, right? Who are you? How are you seen? If you're making cookies, right? How are they seen? If you're making whatever, your hotel, how is it seen, right? Okay, so let's zip through there. But thanks, that's a great question. Yeah, did I answer it? Okay, just keep hitting me with questions here. So you want to be yourself? Okay, I'm going to give you something you can do that's very simple, very, very easy. Okay, you want to market globally, right? First thing you want to do, I'll give you my examples. I sell a real estate training course, like how to sell to Chinese investors, right? So it's an online course. It's $1,000. Real estate agents study it here in Canada, US, Australia, right? And so what I do is I set a Google alert for Chinese real estate buyers, Chinese real estate investors, every keyword that I can think of that's related. Chinese investors in Vancouver, Chinese investors in Los Angeles, Chinese buying, commercial. I think of all the words and I have a Google alert. So I wake up in the morning, in my email inbox is a bunch of news articles about what happened with Chinese investors overseas today. And I take those links, I read through them, and then I take the best ones and I post them on my social media. And what's great about that is I've tried everything, but this is the easiest way. It's the best way to get started because the content you can post is it doesn't have to be yours, right? You can do that later when you know what they want, you know how they see you. Start easy, start fast, start today. Like set your Google alert after this thing, after the speech. Just find your keywords, search for a Google alert, get those. Do you know Google Alerts, right? You guys know how to use that? Yeah, just search Google Alerts and you just put in your email, it's free, and then they'll just send you anything with those keywords in it, news, and you'll always be the person who's the most on top of your thing. And it works in English too, it's great, yeah. It's super smart because it takes no time at all, right? So that's what I do, I post every day, and that keeps me in contact. I post twice a day on LinkedIn, Twitter, my Chinese social media, and it's good content, right? It's fresh, it's every day. And it's not saying I'm so great. It's just like, hey, here's what's happening. The agents will watch that and they're like, oh wow, Chinese, this guy's the most knowledgeable. In fact, NAR, the National Association of Realtors, they contacted me and they asked me to be their director for China. And because they said, we read your feed and like you have the best information on Chinese real estate. So Jeff Hornberger contacted me. It was great. It was just because of this Google Alerts, But I do vet. I look at all. I read everything before I post, and I make sure there's something that's kind of not good content or misleading or salesy. I don't put it in, right? So I'll rather put less than put garbage, right? So just think of news links are great. So post it on Facebook, obviously Facebook page, Twitter, WeChat. Who has WeChat? No way. You got WeChat? Okay. WeChat. Okay. And WeChat? Yeah. Wow. Only 3 people. No way. 4. Okay. Have you found it to be useful? Have you found yeah? Okay.
We have students in China.
Okay. Yeah. WeChat is bigger than Facebook. Has more daily users. Facebook has what is it? 768 million, I think. And then WeChat has 700. No, it's like 8 million less. Yeah, Facebook has worldwide, and WeChat is basically only China. And this is not some fake number. This is like the real deal. WeChat, it dominates. And it might end up dominating the globe. I think it probably will be a serious competitor. It'll be like a new Android, iOS. It'll just be WeChat. If you ever use WeChat, it's just awesome. You can do everything with it. It's not some BS thing that I'm telling you to try, and you're going to find out 2 years later it was a waste of time. I'm telling you, you want to use this one. Get WeChat. Just get it. It's awesome. It's a great software, too. Even my friends in China who are, not Chinese, we use it to contact because it's so great. Send messages. Am I running out of time? Oh, no way. Okay. So advanced content. Okay, so the first thing is you're doing news links every day, right? You're getting your keywords, you're posting them every day, and they're about whatever your topic is. So, for example, hotel, Chinese tourists here, Japanese tourists. You're searching for that, and you're putting links on there. And tourism, hotel, hospitality, boom, boom, boom. You got your links going. You got your English school, like study English, some new thing, right? And then you're posting that. Now, you're doing that for, say, 6 months or whatever. Now you want to go to the next level. You want to make your own content, right? So this is when you start to think of something helpful. So if you move to Shanghai tonight, what do you need when you get there? You need like a guide. You need help. You need like information about everything. So all those things that you would need, that's what you want to write for your people. Things that they would need, right? So what are the questions they have? What questions would you have? Well, they're not that different. They're moving to a new area. They want to know about everything, right? You're going to write that. It's easy, right? It's basic stuff. You might even be able to just mention whatever your target thing is. What language should you do? English, okay? Don't pay translators, okay? You can do that later. Just write the good content in English to start, okay? This is where everybody makes a big mistake, is they think, oh, I need Chinese. So they hire somebody, they pay them a salary, or they pay, they lose all their money on some translator. Do it in English, have the content good. Later, when you start getting money, then you get a translator. Okay, that's basically how it works. So video is awesome. I have a number of viral videos overseas. I had one of my videos had 382,000 mentions on blogs and news sites that I made. And you never know. It went crazy overseas, my videos. It just went crazy in Europe. And then in Africa, and then in Japan, and everywhere. So you can have a viral video. Videos are great. Be yourself. Like I said, whoever you are, put that out there. Just don't do gimmicky stuff, right? But put your real self out there. That's okay, right? So topics, when you get in depth, you just, all the things, restaurants, food, roads, take pictures, girls on the beach, anything that's attractive, anything that's something that they might be interested in, you wouldn't just put it in there, right? Okay, so here's a couple of videos I had. The one had 145,000. That was a MacBook review. That was funny. And the other one, I was going to fly an airplane into a building to recreate 9/11, and that went totally viral, and that went crazy, especially overseas. And so viral videos. Okay, I was going to tell you this because we got like 2 minutes left or whatever. I want to tell you quick. If you're not making money, okay, and you want to make money, there's a way to make money on the internet, okay? I'll just tell you a real easy way. Okay, digital products. This is my landing page, okay? And I'm not selling this. I'm just telling you how I do it. So this is called the squeeze page. I have a call to action, get instant access, right? Now, they want a real estate training course. They put their name in there. They go into an email sequence, right? So after that, I give them 3 or 4 emails, right? I give them good information, emails with video, clickable links, right? So why is an email list so important if you want to make money with your business? It's very, very important. It's like a party. If I have a party and everybody comes to my party and they go home, I don't know who they are. I can't contact them again, right? An email list, you get them to give your email, you give them something valuable. So we were writing content in the last slide, right? So now you have your best content, give it away for free, right? And then get their email. That way you can contact them again, because it's in your niche, right? They'll ask you questions. It's a much deeper relationship, right? So 3 or 4 emails, your last email is a sales video. Take your email with PayPal, Stripe. PayPal is easy, it takes 2 seconds to sign up. You can take money. I take all my money on PayPal mostly. Easy to use, easy to integrate. High or low price. I'm talking about digital goods, so like a digital course. If you have something you want to sell your English course, you want to sell, how to skin a moose, or you want to, whatever it is, people will buy this stuff. People will buy digital goods. And I see all these social media people who are not making money. I'm telling you, you can make money. You can absolutely make money. I make $1,000 every click, right, when they buy my course. So they look at it, they see it, they're like, that's interesting. They click. If they watch my videos, it's helpful. They get to the end, they say, I'll buy this course, because they trust me after those 3 emails. Because I give them a lot of value. I give them a ton of value in that sequence, right? So I'd say, like, last thing before we leave, is anybody have a challenge that, from what I've said, like, what is their biggest question right now?
So what about gender issues, women doing business?
Okay, like social media?
To that, I know you're a guy, but.
Yeah, no, I help women. No, women, it's easier. You get contacts easier. Guys have to work for it more. In China, especially Japan, you can get a ton of followers, and happens all the time. There's a famous girl right now from UK who now is like a superstar in Japan. She was just making videos in her bathroom or whatever. And then she's like in high school or whatever. Now she's like huge in Japan. She's like on all the TV shows and everything. So you can definitely do it. There's no problem with being a woman doing social media. It's fine. Yeah, it's totally fine. And it's changing. And especially in China, where China is more fair than here. There's more Chinese billionaires anywhere in the world, and female, right? There's more Chinese millionaire females than here, right? So after the Communist Revolution, they made everything the same. Everybody wore the same clothes, you know, the Mao outfits and everything, and everybody was the same. So there are things that are, you know, there are things that you could, if you wanted to look for it, you could find things that would contradict this. But I would say overall, it's no problem at all. Yeah. It's okay. You just yell it out. It's fine.
I've just got a question. So you're talking about like China and Japan
Yep.
in the context of when you went and it was an emerging market and now it's quite saturated, more difficult to get in. Do you think there's any areas of the world right now that at this time period are kind of like, you know, China and Japan, you know, a couple decades ago? Is there any emerging markets that would be good to go to?
Yeah, I mean, I think Thailand is one. I'm in Thailand right now. I think Thailand is an emerging market, and that's why I'm there. I'm in Bangkok, downtown. Used to be like the sin and everything. Now it's becoming very serious internet, you know, and the queen, you know, the king passed away this year, and the queen is really promoting internet companies. They have like Google offices, like Google level offices you can rent for $30 a month if you're starting a company in Thailand. I have one. It's great. It's like awesome. You got coffee. It's really nice. Yeah. So I would say Thailand would be one good one. It's a good one because the English is enough that you can get going. It's easy to get going. But don't ignore China and Japan, because just because you're not first doesn't mean, you know, now is the time. Like, you look at your competition, right? There's not that many people that are even trying to do this. Everyone's trying to do social media, but look how few people are trying to do global, right? You can do it. You can hit China. You can nail China. Like right now, you can go in with a new product into China and kick butt. Yeah, no problem, no problem. In fact, I would say Asia generally. Focus on Asia, is where I think, you know, more than South America, is my take. And Africa, if you have a Bitcoin company, I have friends doing well in Africa, Bitcoin related, you know, digital currency, but like selling things probably not so good. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Any last questions? Let's see, zip through here. Here's a few ways you can reach me. I have 4 YouTube channels. This is my personal one, Magic Square One, which I'm trying to get renamed, but I have the Paul Salo with another account, and I'm trying to switch it over. So there it is. And thank you very much for listening. And please use the ideas. Yeah?
How important to be physically there?
I would say it's not important for you now. Yeah, just start to market. You start to write your content, start to put your links. It's like when the time is right, you'll know. When you start to when you're putting out stuff and you're getting feedback, people are talking to you, people are communicating with you, and you feel like, hey, this is getting to be the next step here, right? You know, if somebody has a campaign they want some help with, I'm happy to help them. I helped Groupon to come to China, and we did like very heavy advertising, and we were like, it was completely different than the way I do usually my business. So if you do have something you want some help, I'm happy to help you. But basically, I would say you can do it. You can do it yourself. You can do it right now. You can do it from here. All right. Thanks for listening. What should I do?
All right. Well, thanks very much to Paul. That was a bit of a trip down memory road for me. I'd forgotten about when I first got.